There is one habit that can turn an otherwise healthy relationship into a toxic one. It is a habit that can creep up really silently. It can be something that you don't even realize is happening. It's often unconscious. It is the silent killer of attraction, of trust, of emotional intimacy. And after years of working with couples, it is the habit that I have seen destroy relationships the fastest. And that habit is the habit of keeping score. You're no longer giving to your partner from a place of generosity. You're giving to your partner to see if they're going to give you something back. And then if they are not giving you something back, or if they're not giving at the level that you think that you're giving, you start to withhold your love. You start to get resentful. You start to hate your partner in a lot of ways. You start to complain to your friends about them. You start to get in your head and sustain really strong stories about them, about why they never do this or why they never do that. You start to get insecure. That's when your attachment wounding can come up really strong. That's when a lot of people can get anxious. That's when a lot of people start to get avoidant. I am going to share today how to stop this pattern. If you're doing it, and you could be doing this inside of a friendship. I see it a lot inside of friendships. You could see it in a family dynamic. You can see it in a work dynamic. And if you're not in a romantic relationship, this might be some of the most important information that I share with you so that you can be better prepared the next time you're in a relationship. Keeping score will turn a giver into a taker. And it is actually really painful. Because anyone who considers themselves and feels like a very generous person, you take pride in the fact that generosity is a high value of yours. You are a giver by nature. And then you find yourself in a relationship, any kind of relationship, and you are withholding that because you feel like it's not being reciprocated, like you're kind of gatekeeping your generosity. It feels awful because it feels like you are going against your very nature, and it makes you angry. So the first thing that you really have to understand is that when we keep score, because we can all be guilty of that, when we keep score, more times than not, it's not because someone is a bad person or deeply immature or toxic. It's really just coming from pain and not knowing what to do with that pain. It's coming from an insecurity and feeling not enough in the relationship and not knowing what to do with that. And the only way to really understand this is to understand that men and women give differently. So as you're listening to this, you could be a woman and say, I identify more with what the men do. And if you're a man, I identify more with what the women do. You might see yourself in both. But I have to share that there is a pattern. Women, the way that we give, that's both natural to us and also conditioned, is that we are nurturers. And we like to give a lot emotionally. It is more common that women are sort of ongoing giving. We're giving to children, giving to our partners. We're constantly wanting to make sure everyone is okay emotionally. And women have a habit of putting other people's emotional needs before her own. Men, on the other hand, often give in single acts, like one gesture at a time. Whereas women, it's sort of like this intuitive, ongoing nurturing. Men will really find their purpose in these acts of service regardless of love language, I have found that men really prioritize acts of service. In other words, that is actually how they give love. And women tend to give love through emotional attunement, through nurturing. And so what happens, even if you're in a same-sex relationship, because you can think of this as masculine and feminine energy, but what happens when you have two people who give in different ways? And what happens is that the giving is not recognized by the other. Now, I am going to talk a little later on this episode about what to do if you're just in a relationship with a selfish taker. But for now, I want to help whoever is struggling in their marriage or in their relationship or has struggled in the past and really wants to break certain patterns. You have to understand the nature of scorekeeping. You see, women keep score when they feel like they are exhausted, they feel depleted. Women often, and this is so incredibly common, feel like they are constantly giving from an empty cup. They are always trying to make sure that everyone is okay, that their partner is okay, and then they're exhausted. And so what happens is that she starts to feel unseen, and she starts to feel depleted. And she then starts to get angry. And maybe sometimes she complains. And she just feels like she just keeps giving and giving and giving, and she's not being replenished. And so then if you are in a relationship with this woman and she's angry and resentful, but she's not telling you why, you can be really, really confused. What happens is that she will start to withdraw, or she won't be as receptive to you. Men, when they give, they want to feel purposeful, they want to feel needed, and they want to feel appreciated. They do this acts of service, and then they want their partner to be like, wow, what you just did for me added a lot of value to my life. It made me happy. It made my life easier. There's a smile on my face because of it. He wants to know that he has value in your life. And he shows it that way. And so when he feels like nothing he does is appreciated, or he feels like, I just keep doing this for my partner and they're just not happy, or they're not recognizing it, and they're just complaining about, well, I'm just not doing enough of this, or I'm not doing enough of that. That's typically when a man starts to shut down and withdraw, and then he stops trying. And then his partner will think, and it's usually the feminine partner, but not always, partner will think, my God, he's not trying anymore. He doesn't love me. And then that can trigger in the partner, we'll just call it her, that can trigger in her to then start giving even more because she's afraid. Or what I see all the time is then she pulls away, and then two people who were once in love are now strangers, roommates, and then when it gets to a place of no return, enemies. So they stop becoming allies in their relationship and they start to hate each other. This is an ad by BetterHelp. I want to talk about workplace stress because it is now one of the top causes of declining mental health, with 61% of the global workforce experiencing higher than normal levels of stress. Because when we talk about relationships, we're not just talking about romantic ones, friendships, and family ones. We're talking about workplace ones. They matter so much. And think about how much time you spend relating to these people. To battle stress, most of us can't wave goodbye to work, but we can start small with a focus on wellness, sitting in the sun daily, exercising, making sure that you spend time with loved ones. The thing about BetterHelp is that it has over 30,000 therapists. It is the world's largest online therapy platform, has served over 5 million people globally. And it's convenient. You can join a session with the therapist at the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. Plus, you can switch therapists at any time, which is amazing. And as the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/onlove. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/onlove. So no good ever comes from withholding your love and your generosity in a relationship. Because when we become withholding, we think we're punishing our partner, and we are on some level, but we're also punishing ourselves because we are then participating in a dynamic where we are becoming as selfish as we perceive our partner to be. And then you have two people who were once in love, now not connecting at all. And then they get to a point of no return and they think, what happened to us? We were so in love and now it's like we're strangers to each other. We can't stand each other. And then that's the pain of a breakup and a divorce. And people don't understand what's actually happened. And really what has happened is that there has been a lot of scorekeeping and a lot of withholding of love and not a whole lot of communication. So in order to break this terrible habit of scorekeeping, you have to first understand how you give and how your partner gives. And then what the two of you are doing in reaction to not feeling like you are being given to. That's a pretty major reckoning. And so many times when I've worked with couples and even worked with individuals, and someone has said to me, like the giving is just not, it's imbalance, it's not reciprocated. Not always, but often what I've found is that they weren't recognizing the giving that was happening. They weren't actually appreciating how the other gives. They weren't appreciating each other's differences. And then they weren't attuned to how each one felt exhausted and went into a place of learned helplessness and didn't know how to continue on in the relationship. So here's a really important thing that you have to understand. When a man feels appreciated, and look, this is most people. When we feel appreciated, we want to give more. But there's something really specific. When a woman feels nourished, when she feels like her emotions are listened to, when she feels like there's presence, it's like her cup, our cups get so full that we just want to give. It's like we are the gift that keeps on giving. But if you're in a relationship with a man, you have to also recognize the ways in which he is giving. And that even though it may not be exactly how you want to be given to it all the time, you have to see the intent behind the action. Here's the truth. Once you treat a relationship like a transaction, it loses its love, it loses its magic, it loses its emotional intimacy. It becomes cold, it becomes harsh. Scorekeeping becomes something that we do when we're in some sort of, even just like a minor survival mode inside the relationship. It's literally, you're trying to manipulate the system being the relationship, because in the back of your head, you're thinking, I'm not going to get my needs met. So I have to be really, really careful not to continue to overextend myself because I'm not going to get my needs met. So you got two people who don't feel like they're getting their needs met, giving to get something back. And then the resentment builds and builds and builds. And relationships thrive. The healthiest, strongest couples you know are ones in which people are giving because they love to give. That generosity is literally, it's a value that each one has. They are generous with each other, and they might be generous with each other in different ways. The one person recognizes, like, this is how this person loves to give, and the other person recognizes this is how this person loves to give, and then they communicate about what they need in order to feel fulfilled that may not be the language that the other person speaks. And so there's always this balance inside of a relationship of recognizing when your partner is giving to you, even though it's not exactly what you needed, and appreciating them, and also sharing what you need more of to feel fulfilled. This episode is sponsored by Thrive Cosmetics. Thrive Cosmetics makes certified 100% vegan and cruelty-free products you can depend on for everything from simple daily wear to intense self-expression. I don't know. They're amazing. That's all I know. They have the best liquid lash extensions mascara. It has over 40,000 5-star reviews. I use it. All my friends use it. They have an amazing eye brightener. I use it. All my friends use it. I mean, I can't say enough good things about this company and their products. So try your new trusty favorites with an exclusive set for our listeners. New customers can get the Liquid Lash Extensions Mascara and a mini-size brilliant eye brightener at a special set price with free shipping, available at thrivecosmetics.com/Jillian. Or save more than 20% off your first order at thrivecosmetics.com/Jillian. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/Jillian for 20% off your first order. So here's how you break the pattern. You make a decision that you're not going to withhold love or withhold your giving to see if you're being given back to. Now, you may decide that you are in a relationship with someone who, no matter how well you express yourself, no matter how many times you ask, no matter how many times you appreciate them, they're just not giving to you. And then you're just in a relationship with someone who's entirely selfish and or just doesn't have the capability to meet your needs, and they're not right for you. And that is always something, a decision that every person will maybe at some point in their lives have to make, even if this is a working relationship or a friendship. More times than not, at least what I have found, is that the giving is like, it's like two people passing each other like two ships in the night, because they're not recognizing how the other person is giving, and they're not appreciating, they're not attuned to one another. And so they got into this habit of 50-50 and keeping score, when really what we want is to just go the distance and do 100-100. You never want to give to get. And you know that if you are a generous person and you found yourself in your relationship giving to get, that it's hurting you as much as it's hurting them. So just consider that if your partner is complaining or feeling exhausted or is shutting down or is not quite as open to you, maybe they feel exasperated and underappreciated. You see, here's the thing. If you're in a relationship with a woman or anyone who identifies with being more feminine, you are absolutely, like, by you being more present with them, with you being able to say, okay, you're having a hard day, tell me, without having to fix it, with you actually engaging with more eye contact with her, you are going to win with her. And that doesn't mean that you stop doing the other things, but I'm telling you right now, that is how you're going to win. If you are in a relationship with a man or someone who identifies with the masculine, it is going to go such a long way when you can appreciate everything that he's doing to be valuable enough for you, to be needed by you, to feel like he's got some purpose in your life. And so we can say all that we want, oh, that's conditioning, we need to not pay attention to conditioning, but this is how we operate. And if we don't understand how we operate and the differences in how we operate, then we're never really going to get along with each other. And it's incredibly important. So if you are feeling like you are just giving and giving and giving and not getting anything in return, and you're exhausted and you're resentful and you're shutting down, then it's time to actually give to yourself. You have to notice if that's a pattern that you have. Do you have a pattern of just putting everyone before you and burning yourself out? Like, if you could be really honest with yourself, is that really about your partner, or is this a habit that you have had in relationships? Because then maybe the problem that needs to be resolved isn't really in your partner. Maybe the way to fix it is to learn how to give to yourself more. And it's not about withholding love from your partner. It's just about, hey, I'm going to replenish my cup. I'm not going to make it so that every single person is ahead of me all the time, so that when I give, I'm giving from a full cup. And isn't it just going to be the kindest thing that you can do for your partner when you can tell that she or he is just doing so much and exhausted, that you can say, you know, let me give this person a hug. Let me give them a foot massage. Let me cook them dinner. Let me put my hand on their shoulder and ask them, you know, how their day was. You know, sometimes we can get so in our heads and so consumed with our own stress and our own work that we forget that, like, there is another person in the relationship, and we're not paying attention to the ways that they just might be burnt out. And look, a relationship is never 50-50. It's really never 50. It's like, okay, you're at 80 today, I'm at 20 today, so you're going to go the distance. I mean, the ideal scenario is that you never strike a perfect balance, but over the long term, there is some balance. You can't label someone as selfish or incapable of meeting your needs until you are willing to have a conversation with them about what it is that you need. And look, you're allowed to say, hey, I need more help here, or I need more of your presence, or I need you to be, you know, a little bit more mindful of, like, the things that I am doing for you. Like, you are allowed to have these conversations. In fact, I encourage these conversations. And at the same time, start to become more mindful of the things that your partner might be doing for you that may not be your language, right? But you can still recognize it as love and as generosity. This episode is sponsored by Quince. I love Quince. I love summer cottons and linens. It's like my favorite thing. And when you think of Quince, think 100% European linen tops starting at $30. Washable silk dresses and skirts, and really nice soft cotton sweaters. I love their t-shirts. I love their linen. And they're so inexpensive, you think that it would be bad quality, but it's not. It's amazing quality. Being that it is summertime where I am and I live in a particularly hot climate, I am rocking those t-shirts and the linen shorts left and right. And I love it. And I get compliments on them. So give your summer closet an upgrade with Quince. Go to quince.com/onlove for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/onlove to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/onlove. And so if you're in a relationship and you're keeping score, which means that you're basically always waiting for them to kind of make the move and then you'll do it. It's sort of like, you know, yeah, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. Just stop doing that. See what it would be like for you to take care of yourself, to meet your needs, to start being loving, to stop withholding, and see if that changes the dynamic. See what it would be like to actually ask for what it is you need, while at the same time recognizing maybe the ways in which they are showing you love that you weren't able to notice. Because one of the most powerful things you can do in your relationship is really appreciate the way that the person that you are in a relationship with is giving and loving you, and at the same time say, and this is what would make me feel loved even more. And it's not to discount everything that they're doing. But again, it is a balance of recognizing the other person's love language and the way that they give whether it's based on the fact of, masculine energy, feminine energy, gender, right? You have to understand that. And at the same time, be able to ask for what it is that you need. So if you're in this position of keeping score, maybe it's just a matter of having a conversation with your partner saying, you know what, I've been keeping score and I don't want to do that anymore. This is what I need. This is what I want to give. What do you need from me? So remember, the mind can be a battlefield. The story that you're telling yourself about your partner, the reasons why you're withholding, the manipulation that might be happening, which feels like a betrayal to self, especially when you are a generous person. You have to stop the madness and have the conversation. Try to break the pattern sooner rather than later. And if you're not in a relationship, but you're getting into a relationship or you're thinking about your next one, just have these conversations early on. What does giving look like to you? How do you feel most appreciated? What do you need most from me? Because chances are, when you ask someone, what do you need most from me? They're going to answer with something that you're like, wow, that's not how I need it. Or like, that's not something that's very familiar to me. But being in a relationship is learning how to love someone in the way that they need us to love us, not just in the way that is comfortable for us. But being in a relationship also means recognizing when they are loving you, even if it's not a familiar way to be loved, so that you prevent getting inside here and getting angry and resentful and then falling into the trap of withholding. And if you do think that you are in a relationship with someone who just takes and takes and takes, first, number one, ask yourself this. Do you have a habit of overgiving and overfunctioning in relationships? If your answer is yes, consider that you are training your partners and the people who are in relationship with you, and maybe even your friends, you are training them to be takers because you are constantly closing the gap. You are constantly overgiving. You are constantly overfunctioning. The way to break that pattern, like I said, is to start giving to yourself and not just to give from a place of emptiness, and see what happens. And if you think, I'm just in a relationship with someone who is just selfish and a taker, and they just do not value generosity in the way that I do, or they just don't know how to be in a relationship. They don't understand that love is a verb and an action. And I'm really starting to learn this more and more. Well, then it might be time to walk away. But before you, like I said, before you decide that it is a value incongruency, that it is a value imbalance, that it is a value misalignment, pay attention to you and your patterns, take care of you, communicate, and recognize that maybe they are giving to you, but just not in the way that you want to be given to. And so you have to pay attention. Anyway, I hope this helps, and I want to hear from you in the comments. Feel free to reach out to me and my team at hello@JillianOnLove.com. We are always reading the messages, and if you want an opportunity to come on the show to get coached by me, be sure that you check out the link in the show notes to fill that out. And please join the waitlist if you're interested in my membership for women called The Conscious Woman, for women who want to stop settling and to raise their standards and to change the way they show up for and operate in life and in love. Again, it's in the show notes. And until next time, thanks for listening. Jillian On Love is a QCODE production, executive produced by David Henning and Steve Wilson, produced and edited by Travis Howe, music by Will Tendy.